So not every trip is indeed a full value trip, but what do I mean by a full value trip? Well, of course, stay tuned to find out. All right, so before we get into what I define as a full value trip, I do want to mention that this video is supported in part by Gunnison Butte. Gunnison County has long been a hub for gravel cyclists. Just look back to the 1970s when riders were tackling Pearl Pass on clunkers. While times have certainly changed, the county remains as expansive as ever. It's 1.5 times the size of Delaware, with most of that land being public. In fact, there are over 1,100 miles of dirt and gravel roads, perfect for piecing together a multi-day bike packing trip or heading out for a quick hour-long spin. So to plan your trip or just to inquire, hit the link in the top right corner here, or else follow the link in the description below. All right, so each trip is a little different, right? So I've gone on so many over the years, from races where sleep isn't a priority, fast-paced rides with relatively chill nights, full casual week-long cruises, and overnighters that will feel as easy as sitting on the couch. Every trip offers something, well, unique. And if I'm honest here, no two are ever alike. But that's actually how I prefer it. That all said, certain trips do share a similar feel. And when it comes to those full value trips, I actually think it's worth digging into what actually makes a trip fall in this category. Last month, I went on a 3-day, 2-night ride with a few friends on the Peaks and Plateaus route in Utah. It's a route that I've pieced together over, well, the past decade plus through scouting and riding it in all sorts of variations. I was super excited to actually share it with them. This route, well, it's a gem in my opinion, but it's also not an easy route for several reasons. So between the new experience for them and, well, the travel it took just to get there, maybe they got more value out of it than I did. After all, they flew in from around the country just to ride bikes in Moab for a long weekend. However, the trip was a success, and by the end, I think we all kept coming back to this phrase, full value. But here's the thing, we weren't actually talking about financial value here. Sure, value can refer to the importance, worth, or usefulness of something, and that can be monetary or not. And while they certainly spent money and time to get there, what we were really talking about was the value of the experience. The importance of choosing to show up for this trip versus, well, not. And the richness of what we packed into 3 short days. We all understood it without actually needing to define it. So as you navigate the peaks and plateaus, it isn't an easy route. It's a 160-mile route that climbs over 11,000 feet with a few rather challenging sections. So we had a short window, 3 days with not much wiggle room. Add in the logistics of leaving family and juggling work, less than ideal weather on our arrival day, and of course limited daylight that time of year. And well, you start to kind of see why the past few days held so much value. So a significant part of what makes a full value trip a full value trip is, well, at least for me, is the adversity. And that certainly showed up even early on. So pre-trip logistics alone can be, well, a challenge. Managing family and work and then packing for a personal trip, it's not simple, even for someone who does this regularly. So additionally, we drove into Moab in pouring rain, navigating flash flooding. So I've been on parts of this route in storms and wet roads before, and yeah, it's not fun. Those roads can be unrideable. So it was a bit nerve-wracking, and all I could actually think about was how much the rain would affect the next few days. So then there were the, I guess, travel logistics. Flights had to be on time, and bikes had to be unpacked and rebuilt after traveling across the country. We each actually experienced some minor mechanical issues here, and actually one friend had a delayed flight, which actually required us to adapt, and he ended up meeting us in LaSalle on our first day of travels. And well, it somehow all worked out. But logistics and adversity aside, full value trips ultimately come down to the experience themselves, the terrain and the views, the challenges of the climbs, and the rewards of the descents. And Peaks and Plateaus serves it all up. So that brings up the value to time ratio. A full value trip usually means squeezing as much as possible into a very small window that you have. Late October is a challenging time to bike pack as daylight is limited and you're on the doorstep of daylight savings time ending. You either need to start early or ride into the night. So on our first morning, we didn't roll out until 10 a.m. due to a bunch of unforeseen issues, and we arrived at camp just around sunset at 6 p.m. So the next day I'd say left at around 9:30 a.m. and stopped for the night at about 5:30 p.m. So on day 3, we tried to start early, but we still didn't get rolling until 8:30, which had us finishing and back to our car at around 6 p.m., just as the sun was setting. But honestly, that is one of the best parts. Your entire day is full. Every minute has a purpose. Packing and unpacking, cooking, eating, filtering water, pedaling, and of course, resting. In between, you share conversations, and equally important, you share silence. Those moments where you stand still and soak in the views. There's always time for that, even on a full value trip. Another key ingredient to a full value trip is teamwork. Sure, each of us is riding our own bike, pushing ourselves, taking in the landscapes, rounding each corner, eager to see what's next, but we all do it together. We stop for a snack, help one another, share knowledge about the route or a specific area or a mechanical tweak or fix, and make decisions as a group. So on a 3-day, 160-mile trip, knowing each other's capabilities is crucial. But more importantly, being aligned in mindset is essential. We all wanted that same thing, to soak up as much awesome as possible while also completing the route in 3 days. So I've done plenty of full value trips before, and well, a few with these guys actually now. And it's kind of gives us that sense of camaraderie. So on our last day during a long stretch between water sources, we took advantage of the rain that fell a few days prior. When Austin was filtering water out of a pothole, we laughed about, well, that time he filtered from a nasty livestock pond on the Queen's Ransom years ago, instead of course, using the water cache that was just a few miles ahead. So that memory was so funny at the time, and well, it will forever be unforgettable. So that's the thing about full value trips. They stack memories like that. That's how you know a trip earned that title. So ultimately, we all kind of create our own experiences. We make them as hard or as easy as we want. And sometimes we take moments for granted, of course, while others, the ride turns out to be a little easier than it looked on a map. However, full value trips aren't defined by difficulty. They might be shaped by adversity, but really they're defined by how present you are, how immersed you are in that small slice of time that you've carved out for yourself. So as I've grown older with more responsibilities and less time, that presence feels more valuable than ever. So, Peaks and Plateaus last month. It was indeed a full value trip, and I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. So have you all ever had a trip like this? If so, please let me know how special it is for you. As always, thank you all so much for watching. And if you like what you saw in this video and want to see more like it, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And if you want to help support this YouTube channel, everything we're doing at BIKEPACKING.com, you can do so by joining the Bikepacking Collective. So the Collective offers a lot of awesome perks, including industry discounts, monthly giveaways, the all-new base camp, and the Bikepacking Journal. So to learn a little bit more about the Collective, you can click on the card in the top right corner, or else follow the link in the description below. As always, thanks so much for watching, and until next time, pedal further.